What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about my most hyped game ever, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. We are now just a couple weeks away from the official release, and honestly, it seems like the entire internet is buzzing about what this game is really going to be like. And thankfully, now we have the official demo that lets us play through what is roughly the opening hour of the game. Now, this is just a pretty tiny taste of what will probably be a very expansive experience, but even still, I find myself just beating this demo again and again, trying to find new secrets, looking at the environments, and of course, trying to master this really new and totally rediscovered version of Final Fantasy VII combat. But what I've also been doing is, I've kind of been just watching the internet and seeing what other people think about the new version of gameplay we're getting here, and surprisingly, it seems like some people are a little bit mixed. Now, for the most part, it definitely seems like hardcore gamers especially are very much enamored with this new version of combat. The fact that when you're playing as Cloud and Barret, you have to be able to duck, dodge, roll, and honestly be a very good fighter in order to survive these encounters. But I have seen a very small group out there saying, I wish that this was turn-based. I wish that this was exactly like the original version of Final Fantasy VII, but with just some nice new graphics. And it seems like Square Enix, they want to try and make that group happy. This specific demographic just as satisfied as all the hardcore gamers that may be picking this up for the first time ever. So they've introduced a special thing called Classic Mode, and I don't know if I actually enjoy this. Just to say this right up front, the entire reason I'm making this video is I feel like Classic is not exactly what they promised it would be. So over the course of the last couple months, the developers of the FF7 Remake have been doing a ton of interviews because, I mean, it seems like they're extremely excited for it. They're happy to get this out there. And something they've been talking about is, this is an exact quote, they kept saying, in Classic Mode, characters fight automatically, so the player can instead focus on selecting commands. It essentially turns the game into a classic menu-based RPG. Now, this is on the official Square Enix website. This isn't just some random off-the-cuff thing that they accidentally said during an interview. This is the official statement by Square Enix. But when you play Classic Mode, it doesn't feel like a menu-based RPG. Instead, it feels like autoplay. So this is really it. I decided this morning to actually record an entire demo playthrough completely in Classic Mode. Now, the reason I did this is very direct, which is that I want to show you the controller itself and just really display that this is truly what is basically movie mode. The game plays itself completely. Every aspect of it, from dodges, blocks, being able to switch your combat stances and attack foes basically to try and utilize their weaknesses. The only thing you do is the active time battle commands, which are basically where you like stop time and choose whatever magic or special ability you want to try and unleash. Now, I guess the reason I'm so conflicted about this is that Classic Mode, the other aspect of this is, not only is the character here, the AI is a very good fighter, but the game is on very easy when you turn it on Classic. This is the boss. This is like the main encounter of the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, Scorpion. And honestly, I think that this fight is really well designed. I think that it has some interesting challenge to it. The first time I ever tried it, I'm not freaking ashamed to admit, I died to this boss fight the first time because I was so overwhelmed by his laser cannons and crazy missile salvos that I was completely blasted. But to me, that's part of the reward. I like a game that tries to push you to get better. But in Classic Mode, it is Autopilot. Not only do the characters perfectly hit every single weak spot, not only do they manage to perfectly circle and dodge all the different hits, even during the special event parts like when he's shooting his tail laser, the characters will just step behind the barrier perfectly. Sometimes they would start to dodge an attack before it had even begun its full animation. Basically, this game plays itself better than you could ever play it. And since it's on easy mode, you can kill stuff without even pressing a button. There's a good chance you'll never even need to use a potion or revive your friends or even throw any magic. This turns the entire game, in my opinion, into almost like a story mode. You're practically getting the cutscenes and nothing else. Now, the reason I am actually a little bit against this, I guess I'm feeling conflicted. And the thing is that I think that my problem with this isn't that it exists. I'm actually kind of glad that everybody, whether they're a master gamer or this is the first thing they ever pick up, I'm glad that people are going to be able to see the really, really cool plot line of Final Fantasy VII. My problem is that I feel like what makes games different is the challenge. Something is like, if you're watching a movie, as long as your eyes are open, you're getting the full experience of the movie. If you're reading a book, as long as it's in the language you could read, then yes, you're getting the full experience of the book. What's always made gaming as an art form so different is the fact that you have to participate. You yourself are constantly being tested as to whether you can get past that next objective. Can you figure out this puzzle? Can you climb to the top of that mountain? The tests and the challenges are what make gaming as an art form so different and really so rewarding. So the idea of an autopilot mode inside this game, I guess I'm feeling conflicted because I don't know if that's truly a Final Fantasy thing. I think that the downside of this is that it actually needs to be in the game. I mean, not to completely throw anybody under the bus, but let's just face facts that there are a bunch of tweets and stuff out there of people, even big gaming journalists, saying that they couldn't finish the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. It was too brutally difficult, and this is the opening freaking boss. Does that mean that the entire game will be totally inaccessible to them? I suppose it would. Now, the other part of this that of course we have to just acknowledge is that this is of course the opening level. This is just one little tiny shred of the grander Final Fantasy VII Remake. The later game is of course going to be harder, but I'm kind of curious who's going to stream the entire game in classic mode, because right now in this demo I could actually beat the entire demo without ever using an attack. I could just walk from place to place and it would automatically do every single command super perfectly. Are there going to be people who are able to finish the entire game, save the world, defeat Sephiroth, do everything without ever pressing a button? That to me seems like a giant detriment to the true heart and soul of the Final Fantasy experience. Now here's the thing, I'm not telling Square Enix they suck. This is not me trying to break them down. I'm giving them a tiny bit of feedback and maybe a little bit of helpful criticism. Square Enix, your developers are awesome. This game looks like it's going to be super good for those who are playing it on the normal mode. But I want to make an official plea to you. I want you to try and put in a real classic mode. True turn-based combat. This is supposed to try and emulate the experience of having turn-based combat in a very close facsimile, but I actually am begging you, give us true turn-based. Give us an opportunity to play through this game exactly the way we did Final Fantasy back in the day. Give us some materia. Give us some summons. Give us some chances to really experience the full glory and challenge of Final Fantasy VII without this ultra easy mode. I think that whatever you do, it's going to be cool, and I'm definitely fully trusting of the Final Fantasy VII development team. I'm just saying that I want this game to be perfect. Really, when you think about it, the most interesting aspect of the Final Fantasy VII Remake is that this is now going to be an entire series. It's what I've been calling the Saga of Seven. There's going to be multiple parts of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, so since they're going to be developing more parts of the game later on, I guess that even though this classic mode isn't particularly my taste, I hope that what they do is make a true turn-based combat mode in future entries, or maybe they could even patch it into this one later on. I want to see how this series goes. I want to see how each of the games manages to evolve and be tweaked, but right now the standard fighting is fantastic. If you are somebody who is very used to hack and slash RPGs and you want to see what is next, what the next giant game is going to be that's going to test your dodge rolling skills, check out the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Also, this is off topic, I really hope that they have a difficult mode right at the start. I hope there's like a very hard that's able to be played right at the beginning without having to beat the game first. I kind of want to see if I can beat this game on the hardest difficulty right at the beginning. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts about classic mode in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Have you had a chance to try the demo yet? What are some of your thoughts, and did you get a chance to tinker around with this weird classic mode, and do you really consider it classic? Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.